All right, we're going to bring it home here with the Sunday night football matchup.
Right here.
Before we jump into this game, if you're new to the YouTube channel, go ahead and hit like, hit subscribe, and turn those notifications on so you know when we are dropping new content every single day. Your hometown Arizona Cardinals will be facing the Seattle Seahawks fresh off of their bye. Arizona is fresh off of a dominating performance against the Dallas Cowboys. This, I believe, is one of the highest over-unders on the week, if not the
56.
third highest over, 56-point over-under, and the Seattle Seahawks favored by 3.5 on the road here. I mean, look, I don't know if there's much to say about the Seattle offense. We kind of know what we're getting. We're getting Russell Wilson at an elite level. We're getting Chris Carson dominating snaps percentage and probably healthiest he's ever been this year, given they're coming off their bye. We've got dominant wide receivers. But talk to us a little bit about what you're seeing and if there's any chance for Arizona to kind of slow that down this week.
I'm really excited about this matchup. I've been looking forward to the birds in the West going at each other since we saw what Kylo Murray was about week 1. And this matchup, I'm really excited for this matchup here. It's going to be a shootout. I expect it to be. We know that Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are dominating their snap percentages at 94% plus for both of them. DK Metcalf is that deep ball threat. Tyler Lockett, PPR monster. Russell Wilson using both of them very, very well in maximizing their skill sets. And to all the points you mentioned, Chris Carson is crushing right now. While they do have a host of other running backs there, Carlos Hyde, Travis Homer, who are grabbing some snap share percentage. Chris Carson for the season, 56%, and he's the one they trust. He's the one getting the work. He's the one catching passes from Russell Wilson, pounding the rock on the ground. No competition there. The only person I think that's worth noting right now is Greg Olsen, who has been on an increase in terms of his involvement. Greg Olsen and Will Dissly, Big Montana, were there kind of going back and forth. They're streamable tight ends. Last week, we saw Greg Olsen have an 83% snap share compared to his 67% snap share on the season. So he's getting more and more involved. He's worth streaming. He might be the third option for Russell Wilson as their trust continues to develop, but he's not going to be someone you need to rush out to the waiver wire to get your hands on. Just somebody to consider if you're looking at a tight end stream this week.
Kyler Murray on the Arizona side of the ball here, Austin. Kyler Murray is just becoming a really solid option, and this year's maybe Lamar Jackson, and not maybe the ceiling of Lamar Jackson just yet with the passing, but as far as the rushing is concerned, he's leading the league now in rushing yards per game as a player, and he's doing it with his legs and taking read options here and there. He just looks quicker than most of the competition out there.
He is a squirrel missile is what he looks like just darting around, going crazy, a land dart.
Squirrel missile.
Yeah, squirrel missile.
Yeah.
That's what comes to mind when I think about Kyler Murray. And I think looking at his game against Dallas, you can really see what his skill set brings to the table in terms of his poor start, 3 for 12 passing. That wasn't looking good. And then turned that around for just a dominating performance. His weapons over there in Arizona, I think, are underspoken. We don't really talk about how deep the weapon situation in Arizona is, with DeAndre Hopkins, arguably the best wide receiver in the NFL. Christian Kirk, hello, welcome to the team. He's been popping off. And you still got Larry Fitzgerald and Andy Isabella, another really exciting weapon over there. I mean, when you talk about Christian Kirk here, we're talking about a guy who's only seen 24 targets and still has 8.5 fantasy points per game. He's getting it done. He's that boom or bust play. And we saw last week, you don't need a lot of touches to make it happen, whether it's a deep bomb or a jet sweep. He can make big plays happen at any moment. And that's just one of the weapons that the Arizona Cardinals and Kyler Murray has.
Yeah, when I was talking to Johnny about the waiver wire this week in week 7, Christian Kirk makes the article, right? And it's talking about, he does have low volume if you're looking at it. But I think what's been encouraging is his use in the red zone on push passes, on rushing attempts, on things like that, where you can see Cliff Kingsbury almost saying out loud to the rest of us, I've got a weapon in here in Kirk, and I've got to figure out how to use him. And I like what they're doing because they're getting him more involved. So I think he's worth the upside. You mentioned it. He's got double-digit points and half-point PPR in just about 3 of the last weeks. And that's because of the use that they continue to get him involved in unique ways.
I love the point there that you brought up of Cliff Kingsbury trying to utilize the unique variables that Christian Kirk there brings to the table. Now, there is a little bit of similarity between him and Andy Isabella's game, but Kirk is separating himself. Andy Isabella got some shots earlier in the season. He's only had 15 targets on the whole year, and he's doing 4.4 points per game. Christian Kirk looks to be that firecracker for them. He looks like what I thought Mecole Hardman was going to be for the Chiefs, in that, hey, we've got an explosive player here. Let's make sure we design some plays and see what he's about a few times a game. That's not necessarily happening for Mecole Hardman, but for Christian Kirk, it looks like it is, and I think that trend is going to continue. They're going to design a couple of plays every game to see what Christian Kirk can do, whether that is that sweep in the red zone, a deep pass for him. He might not be the volume play that DeAndre Hopkins is going to be. My goodness, that dude gets 61 targets on the season, but he is going to be someone who's going to get a shot every week to show you what he's about, and what he's about is a lot of points and a few amount of plays.
Look, we said that Christian Kirk last week was a decent start just based on the fact that Dallas is giving up so many points to wide receivers. No team giving up more points to wide receivers than Seattle, 10 more points than any other team right now. And so that means let it ride with Christian Kirk this week. I think he can be started in your lineup in this high over-under as a shot to get it done for you. I want to talk about the running game, Austin. Yeah. Kenyon Drake was a disappointment up until that Dallas game where he kind of broke out. He had the 2 touchdowns. He had the massive garbage time run, had some explosive plays, looked probably the best I'd seen him look all year. How much of that was Dallas? How much of that was Kenyon Drake? And how confident can you be in him coming into this matchup against Seattle?
Well, if there was ever a time to feel confident about Kenyon Drake, this is the week to feel good about Kenyon Drake. Not only did he have the big plays, not only did he get the volume, we're looking at the snap share percentage, 68% last week for Drake versus 37% for Edmonds. You and I spoke the week prior to potentially Edmonds looking at a breakout situation as Drake had really underperformed. Well, Drake has not underperformed moving forward. He was slotted to be the number 1. He is showing what he could do last week. Until something changes, I'm feeling really, really good about Drake. That buy low opportunity is gone. And Edmonds remains a very high caliber handcuff. But to me, that's all he is for the time being.
Yeah, definitely one of the more valuable handcuffs. But yeah, he continues to be, Cliff Kingsbury continues to want to get Drake the ball, which at least on the rushing attempts, which, look, if he's trying to motivate his guy, I understand. And what a good game to do it. Maybe Drake shakes off some of the cobwebs. We will see. Seattle, on paper, not a very great matchup, but that's because they're a pass funnel defense. They end up letting you up so much through the air that you don't usually run on them. I think that Drake could get involved here, fall in for another touchdown, and really make your day just based on the high over-under. And so we appreciate you, as always. For Austin Sear, you can find him over on Twitter at Austin_R_Sear. I am Big Travie. We are the Fantasy Whisperers. We're out. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.